Wow, gosh, it's hard to talk. The heat is so oppressive this afternoon. It is like an oven out here. I reckon we're sitting in about 42 degrees, well over 100 and something. We're in a hot summer's afternoon this afternoon. Welcome to Wild Earth. And of course, most importantly, welcome to Djuma Game Reserve this afternoon. Hi everybody, my name is Mark. And apart from these bumps in the road that are interrupting my opening address, welcome to our safari this afternoon. A very hot afternoon. I can't tell you how hot it is because it's hotter than a Texas summer. It is hotter than a... Look at our frog. Here's our frog. Look at that. Remember our frog from the other day? Our tree frog. This is what a tree frog does in the heat. Remember the brown with the markings, the lovely mottled brown, light and brown. It's exactly the same tree frog in exactly the same tree, and I'm hoping that we can find it every now and then. I was meaning to, but of late we've had some lion here, and every time we come past I get distracted by the lion and I forget about the frog, but I think I could be forgiven for that. Andrew is on camera today and Brian is back in final control, and this is what a frog does when it gets so hot like this. It goes almost white, and that is to help reflect the heat and retain moisture. And this morning, funnily enough, I actually came past it and saw it, and it was brown and mottled like we had it earlier. It was facing the other way because we had a wind coming in from the north, but we've had a 180-degree turn today. Also this morning I felt a pressure change in my ears, so there's definitely an atmospheric pressure adjustment that is bringing in probably this high pressure system that's bringing the heat from the low pressure that had the cold from the last 2 days, this new moon rain that we had. And this frog is feeling it, and this frog is now turned to face the wind again, turned 180 as well, facing this really hot dry wind that's coming in from the south, that I'm hoping is going to bring some relief. And I think the frog's hoping too. Brian's in final control, so the thumb's not busy today. Well, it is, it's just not on camera. Bye, frog. I think with this heat we might find that we're going to have a few incidents of things cutting out. I have experienced it before, that when we got a really, really hot summer's afternoon like this, that sometimes some of the equipment just can't handle it. I'd say that 90% of the stuff that's on this Land Rover should be in an air-conditioned studio or air-conditioned van, closed air-conditioned van running off of each their own power systems. But here we managed to condense it all into an open vehicle, and we're driving through an oven that I don't even think Nevada or the Sonoran Desert could match. Oh, maybe Death Valley. I think we might compete with Death Valley on some days. But I'm speaking to those of you in the States. today's the day we're going to have to look for other little things, because there's not going to be an animal, or rather a mammal, moving much in this heat. I think most things that we've been witnessing, or everything that we've been watching lately, has been bulking up on vegetation, probably in anticipation of kind of meteorological events of an impact in temperature. And I hope some sort of consequence to it all in this. Copy. There was some Kwanzaa flower, a very small mafazi that was on Impala Plains heading down towards, or rather from Sandy Patch to Impala Plains. Hi everybody, sorry, excuse me. Sorry, we're just using the opportunity while we were trying to get our signal back to just chat to the rest of the crew that's driving out there today. Well, not our crew, but Djuma's crew, Paxton, his guests. He's going to go and check Treehouse Dam and follow up on some leopard tracks that might have been a filament dip, or this. I think by the sounds of things it was that somebody reported seeing a leopard there, and he hasn't found any tracks yet. I think our mission for this afternoon, I think what we should do is go stick to the drainage line. I think it was such a hot afternoon. If there are any elephants around, I'm thinking that maybe they're going to be down in the drainage lines. I was going to go into here and go down Bowl's Nest, but what I'd like to do, and hopefully the signal will hold for that, is get to Twin Dams, and then well, I wonder, maybe I can do it another way. I was going to go to Twin Dams and then come back along the riverbed and then go up towards Buffalo Dam. But I think we'll do it the other way. So let's go to the river now today. It's really hot out here, and so the tops, the ridges, not going to be much up there, and that a lot of animals are going to be seeking a little bit of coolness down in the riverbed, and that get to Twin Dams, and then from there do later. Well, done a little bit of fancy driving to get away from that riverbed, and it seems that because of the heat this afternoon, we've got to be a little bit more conscientious about our signal range, and that for some reason the heat is affecting it. Well, Brian is telling me that readings on weather channels are saying that we're on about 42 degrees at the moment. In fact, somebody said to me earlier, or this morning, I think, oh, that rock. Oh, normally I'm watching it for that particular. No, maybe more than 102, sure. But somebody asked me this morning, why do we wear sunglasses? Because of UV and stuff. Today is a day that I have to. That contrast is about 108 degrees right now. I've got the fans blowing on the vehicle to try and keep the vehicle cool. And I'm hoping that the equipment can stay cool, because we don't have anything. Well, there are some fans at the back to control some of it, but it's just moving hot air really, more than anything else. I can't remember. I did have hot days like this at home while I was on leave. I've got to go and help Andrew There's something at the back. Excuse me a sec. If you do a loop, if you do a reverse, then hot enough for you? Cooking. And you've got those headphone things on. Oh, I should get gloves. This is kind of fun because today of all days we got to find something else to talk about, because I don't think we're going to see much for the next hour or two with this heat. And there's also I don't want to harp on the heat so much, because there's some places that are so cold at the moment. It's almost uncanny to think that we're able to share a moment in time. We're able to sort of be in the same space together. You're watching where you are in the northern hemisphere, whether it is in Europe or in the States or in Canada or even in Japan, somewhere in the northern hemisphere, and you're in some serious cold weather, and we are probably hitting one of our hottest days of the year today. Well, 42 is not too bad. I suppose there's some places that can get up to sort of higher 40s. But today is a day, unfortunately, I do need these things, because that is a burning sun out there. No self-respecting elephant is going to be anywhere out here. So I'd like to get to Buffelshoek Dam. Maybe if we could find a spot of shade, we'll find some elephant tracks or something. What about the hyena den? The hyena den is going to, it's probably going to be a good question actually, Andrew, because it's probably going to be quite hot inside the den. I think most of those adults are probably going to find themselves a mud wallow during the day today. I wouldn't be surprised if we went to a dam and we found some hyena wallowing in the water. The steering wheel, where I haven't touched it for a bit, it's cooking. It's like I need oven gloves. But I'm a bushman, I can handle it, because I can pick up hot coals with my hands. Hi everybody, welcome to a very hot Wild Earth this afternoon, and I hope I can find you an animal before 6 o'clock. But I think 6 o'clock, we're going to take bets now. I think we're going to take bets. Anybody want to sort of give a time when the first animal is going to be seen from now? We did pass a couple of monkeys when we were twin dams. In fact, the monkeys were in the same tree they were in this morning. It's been so hot they haven't really even moved. Buffalo sitting in wallows don't count, because that's going to be a given. They're going to be buffalo sitting in wallows. But any other animal from now, which is whatever time it is, Brian will mark the time, and I say 6 o'clock before we see anything of note. So we've got to look for insects, spiders, birds. Oh wait, hang on. There aren't even any birds flying. There isn't even an eagle in the sky, because It is so hot, there aren't even thermals. I think there's just one big blast of warm air lifting up off of the earth at the moment. Obviously there are thermals, but it's not transforming into clouds. It's not taking any of the moisture that it should be doing, taking into thermals and condensing way up 20,000 feet to form clouds. There's nothing in the sky for 360 degrees. Today's our hottest day. Try turn it down a bit. It helps to keep the engine running smooth if we're on a very hot day. If you're ever living in a hot climate and you're driving a car that has a potential to overheat, or there is a tendency for well, it's always best to actually drive with the heater on. Although I don't have the heater on, I just have the fan on. If I'm noticing that the temperature of the vehicle is starting to get a bit too high, I might actually have to put the heater on, because what that does is it draws a lot of heat out of the engine and it blasts it away, and it of course brings in, it's not cool air, it's just a lot cooler than the boiling temperature that the air is around where the water is boiling. So it's not necessarily cool air, it's just cooler in temperature. And that's all that engine really needs. I just saw a big bird flying to the tree. It's like a beteleur, maybe. Whew. Sounds like still a lot of wattle starlings about. We're back in the east. Close to cheetah cut line. Magpie shrikes calling. That's their call when there's rain coming. I'm actually not sure what bird that is. It's a little bit far. We might see it a little bit better as we come around onto Drakensberg. Although the light might not be right. So I think we could treat this afternoon in much the same way as we could treat the rainy days question and answer session. You see, I don't know if you can see these white silk patches in the grasses here, Andrew. There's one just off to my right. I think this is panicum, one of the panicum. Sure, something's not making a good noise. So that is like a silk purse, and I was asked a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago in fact, about the jumping spiders, because we had a jumping spider on the dashboard and it actually caught a fly, and what the jumping spider nest looks like. And that's pretty much a jumping spider nest. Might not be the same species that we had on the dash, because there's so many different salticid spiders. That's one of them. I think I can see another one actually, come to think of it, here in the grasses. That looks like that's, yeah, there's another species over there, but a slightly different nest. I think that's one of the bigger black and white ones. It is a little bit bigger. And if they don't fold leaves over or find folds in leaves, then they'll collect grasses together and they'll sew them all into a neat little pouch. But this is the time of the year when the jumping spiders, the females, are finding nesting spots, because their eggs need to stay dormant for most of the dry season. Caught up to the eagle now. Hi Joanne in Michigan. Wow. He thinks a little Wahlbergs. The same eagle we were looking at a little bit earlier. Very interesting question from Joanne in Michigan. Jam. So definitely not a true eagle. We can see that because it has unfeathered legs. So it's not a Wahlbergs. It is none of the Aquillas. It is likely maybe one of the snake eagles. It is not a brown. Or maybe it is a juvenile brown. I'm afraid I'm starting to wonder myself. See, every now and then you get these mysteries, intermediate varieties, or an intermediate phase between juvenile and adulthood. It does look like it has a bit of food in the crop too. Probably a little snake or something. I don't know how much closer I can. I don't need to. He's already gone. And I'm guessing that maybe it's a juvenile black-breasted snake eagle. But I can't be sure. It's not a brown snake eagle, but one of the snake eagles, and definitely a juvenile, not a batelier, and not a brown. So I'm guessing something like a black-breasted snake eagle. Joanne was asking a question about cheetah and their claws, and is it an evolutionary adaptation that cheetah have adapted to not have retractable claws, and are there any other cats that do have non-retractable claws? Cheetah have actually got protractile claws. In other words, they can extend their claws, but they can't retract them fully like a domestic cat or a lion or a leopard. And Joanne, you're right, it is exactly that. It is an evolutionary, or it is an adaptation to their lifestyle and their hunting method and their hunting technique, which is extremely high-speed hunting. Wear my sunglasses out my head. Sorry, but I've got to look into the sun. It's really hard. For an animal that relies on speed and the open ground that it is able to attain those speeds, it's vital that the physiology of the animal matches its abilities, and it's very much like our sprinters versus maybe our long distance runners, or maybe that's not a great analogy, but essentially sprinters need good grip initially, exceptionally good grip, to be able to blast off from the starting line. In the case of a cheetah, when it wants to initiate the hunt, it's got to be able to reach a speed very quickly that is faster than its prey, because invariably the prey species, as soon as it starts to realize that it is being hunted, is going to take off at maybe even a faster speed initially than a cheetah, but it won't maintain it, and as it runs it slows down. But the cheetah needs to have that little advantage that it needs to start the run before the prey does, and to do that it needs the equivalent of a sprinter's spikes on its run, on his or her running shoes. And I suppose that is why it's been an adaptation, or I suppose an evolutionary adaptation. It's hard to use that word evolution and evolutionary without maybe stirring a few things, but all it really is physical adaptation to certain or conditions and circumstances that require it. There is no need for a cheetah to stalk quietly. It is never going to get that close to its prey, the same as a leopard needs to in relatively thick bush, where there are going to be leaves and sticks and all sorts of things that are going to need stealth, and that are going to need these retractable claws that leave only the pads to, and when they walk with the pad on the side, and then they roll it down. And we taught that in the army. In fact, when we're doing patrols, we taught to walk in a way that you put the side of your foot down and you roll it over. You don't just walk flat-footed because of the noise that it makes. Sorry, the noise. And so cheetah don't need those sort of finer details. They just need to blast off. They need to take off fast, and they need to maintain that. And just like the runner's spikes do on a runner's shoes, cheetah need those claws. So they have these permanently fixed claws that can be extended, especially when they get close to their victim, and with the front legs, because what they need to do is they need to just reach out, strike and hook the victim and trip it enough that it can fall, and very often at the speed that they hunt the prey species. Whatever that was. But they'll extend their claws during the hunt just enough to throw their prey off, and it rolls and maybe breaks its neck. Hello, Diane from central New York State. Should I hazard a guess? Say something like Syracuse, central New York. Is it? Anyway, hello Diane. Good to hear from you in New York. And here we go. Ellie. North. Right off. Hoping we can find some Ellies towards the visit there. But Diane wants to know if there are any other animals that happen to change, like the the tree frog that we saw, and obviously the chameleon is excluded because we all know that the chameleon can change color, so that's, I guess, excluded from the discussion. But yes, geckos, there are a lot of the geckos do the same thing. The tree gecko, the tropical house gecko. Strange enough, there's this species of gecko. Hang on. That's better. Craig for Mark. Oh, wrong radio. Oops.
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us.
On Torchwood, and he or she, not even sure who it is at the moment, is up in a tree, so a button on my toe. There's petrol. Patty. Hi Patty. Michigan Patty. Not New Jersey Patty. Michigan Patty. Minus 20 degrees Celsius in Michigan. I'm not surprised. You've got lake, that huge lake that's just blowing icy air from the lake onto you. I was in Chicago in 1996. Just after a blizzard. And I came to Chicago after being in Austria, in the Alps in Austria, and it was crisp, minus 13 degrees at the top of one of the mountains at 13,000 feet or something. I don't know, there was something about the 13s that day. And while it was cold because it was minus something, there was no wind, it was crystal clear. We had taken a cable car to the top of this, one of the Alps, one of the things around St. Anton. And I thought, that's not too bad. I mean, it's cold, but without a wind. And then a couple of weeks later, I found myself in Illinois, just off Lake Michigan. Arlington Heights, just sort of the other side of Chicago, one of the suburbs west, I think it's west of Chicago. Great friends of mine that lived there at the time. And I couldn't spend more than 2 minutes. I would go outside, and then after 2 minutes I had to go back inside. It was, and I don't even know what the temperature was, but it was Michigan. I call it Michigan cold, because I don't think there's anything colder than Michigan cold. I feel for you, Patty. I feel for all of you that are experiencing your winter. I have enough of a hard time, and I don't even get to anything below really 5 degrees Celsius here. So, and that's got to be what, 40 something Fahrenheit. So you could imagine that anything under 60 degrees Fahrenheit for me I'll give you an example. Today, this morning, I had a t-shirt, I had this shirt, I had my Djuma jersey, and on top of that I had this big fleece Columbia thingy that Sally sent me in New York, and that's like a duvet. It's like wearing a duvet waistcoat, and that's how I started drive this morning, and that was starting at probably 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and I had all those layers on at already 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So you have to understand that I can't begin to imagine what it must feel like. Oh, there's so many elephant tracks. There have to be elephants in the Bushel Dam, because if I was an elephant right now, I'd be swimming. I'd be head underwater, tail in the air, trunk used as a snorkel. I'd be underwater for the rest of the afternoon, and I can only hope that that's what we're going to find. Baby elephants even that have been here. Although these tracks are not very fresh, but there is some indication that they're coming down here to the dam, maybe on a regular basis. The bee-eater, European bee-eater. I saw a carmine bee-eater before we started the drive this afternoon. And even if we were alive at the time, there wouldn't be much to see because it was looking into the sun on a telephone wire, actually a power line. And sometimes it doesn't matter how much you want there to be something somewhere, sometimes it just doesn't happen. Because coming up to the dam, the water is a little bit too flat for there to be elephants wallowing and washing in it. But maybe a couple of hippos. Marsha in Canada has had minus 35. That's inconceivable. I mean, I'm ready to just go and wet my feet. Hippo or no hippo. What I would love to do is just go and run and crash into this water right now, albeit full of elephant and hippo and buffalo and other things. So has nobody sent in a time when they think we're going to see the first animal, other than the hippo, because we're at a dam, so hippo and buffalo weren't really in the mix. Okay, so some people have sent in times. I just hope that we can remember all those times so that when we do find something. Thank you, Jennifer, in Toronto. Yes, indeed. At minus 35, I would have to wear shoes. I think, you know, there was a time about 19 years ago. It's hard. It's really tough for me to say it that way. Can I rephrase that? There was a time back in the late 90s when I was in snow in summer in the most strangest of circumstances, and it just happened to be the July the 4th weekend, and it just happened to be Yosemite, and we came up through, what's it called, the Tulum Meadows or something, but we got there. There was this unreal, or rather surreal circumstance, that it was a wonderful summer's day, as it can only be in North America on July the 4th weekend, and yet there was snow, and I was wearing shorts, and in fact pretty much almost identical to what I'm wearing now, barefoot and everything, and I thought how great it would be to run around in the snow barefoot. I didn't last very long, I have to tell you. I can walk over thorns, I can walk through the bush in winter, I can endure the rockiest ground, but snow, walking on snow barefoot, it's very limiting in how much time you can freeze your feet off. So I just want to bring attention to something. I've never really thought of what the purpose of things are until maybe the purpose reveals itself. And I've had a lot of questions about this little magnetic monkey that's been with me over the last couple of months. His name is Kokomo. He comes from Canada. And for the time being, he's just really tagged along, and because he's been left in my care for a while. But I got an email today, I got a message today to mention something about a really long time viewer, and her name is Patty Jarvis. And Patty Jarvis asked about the drive, and particularly asked about me. And I thought, maybe that's what the monkey is for. It's for those of you who are going through really, really hard times, to live the drive vicariously through this monkey, and to dedicate the drive to somebody. And I know Paddy's been a viewer for a long time, and I think Paddy's going through some hard times right now, as is Gloria. So maybe Gloria tomorrow, but today for Paddy. Little Kokomo sitting here on the microphone, and he's doing the drive for Paddy. Paddy, this is for you. We can't forget that there are a lot of people out there that have been watching these drives for years and years and years, and if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't really be here right now, because it's a lot of the viewers, it's the input from the viewers, it's this wonderful interaction that we can produce or recreate, or it's this wonderful medium that we have of being able to drive a vehicle around the bush and watch animals and have you sitting at home interact with us. But as time goes on, we all go through our personal trials and tribulations, and for a lot of people who've been part of this for a long time, that have helped it be what it is, very little that I can do to pay it back, other than a dedicated drive or dedicate time and say, right, Paddy, here's his drive. And offhand, there are a number of people I can think of who I should dedicate a drive to already, just from knowing our viewers. And I've never met any of them. We've only ever talked through Facebook and through emails, and perhaps most importantly through the questions you've asked over time. And this wonderful relationship that has developed, because I get to know over time, those of you who continually ask questions, get to know a little bit more about your personality. I can never know you truly until we meet, but I can get an idea, and certainly the idea is always that we are common. We're souls of common goals, I suppose. Our hearts are all in the right place. If only we can direct all of that energy. Just quickly, I want to show you an insect before he flies away. It's just landed on my dashboard. Oh. And gone again. Come back. There he goes from the other end of the dash. Chasing a fly, actually. Come back to me. No, that fly just chased it away completely. That is a robber fly. It is a fly, but it is a predatory. Sorry, one moment. What is the fuss, birds? I mean, there's a cacophony of sound from the wattle starlings that have been here for a few days now, accumulating. But there are other birds that are alarming. It's the hardest thing to find why birds are alarming, unless I see it. As soon as I try and drive away, they get a little bit more intense. It's like they're saying, wait a minute, there's a problem here, we need your help. But I can't help you because I don't know what it is you're shouting at, child. Okay, so Genevieve. Very interesting question. What birds? Turkey? What turkey vultures? Or turkey? Some maybe is it wild turkeys? But Genevieve is saying that there's some birds that defecate on their legs to keep cool and stuff. Are there any birds here in Africa that do the same? And there are actually. Most of the storks, Genevieve, do that. And I've just found that big male's tracks, that male lion that was the other Matimba. Just found his tracks here. I don't know if he's lying up here somewhere close by. Because if he did the little trip that he did do, then it's quite possible that this might be the end of his road. Because he did a very long walk the last couple of days, heading so far south and then coming back north. So I need to look very carefully to find some tracks, because I'd like to maybe find him if it's possible. He might not be too far from the dam. Not really much today, I'm afraid. It's just mostly because of the heat. And all of these birds that are, they're not quite alarming, but they're just making a noise. Oh wait, there's some tracks there. He's crossed over north. Okay, he's not going to be there. I see a couple of footprints here. Hello, Clancy. Clancy in Ohio. Hey, Clancy. Nice to hear from you. What am I wearing around my neck? Adam actually gave this to me recently. It's a little clay disc with an Ellie on it. Maybe I need to stop. I don't know. Something new. Just a little clay. It's not just a little anything. It's a. Anyways, Adam, my friend Adam, gave it to me recently, and since I lost my geckos, my bone gecko that I came back from East Africa with, that I wore originally, and then after that I had another little gecko which broke off, and then there was that lion claw. I found that there was a lion claw that I found in the Majingi lions. After they killed one of the Styx females, I found a lion claw in their dung, and I'm pretty sure it came from one of those Styx females, and I made an elaborate little thing for it, and I used to wear that lion claw around my neck because it was very special to me, because we were and that fell off one day in Hoedspruit. So somebody in Hoedspruit was lucky enough to pick up the lion claw, and if you go into a shop and you try and buy a lion claw, I don't know why they would even sell them, but anyways, a couple of grand probably cost. I hate to think what it is that makes them available to be sold in the commercial market. The silver casing. But it just meant a lot to me because Herman was on camera that day, and we stopped because there was some land on just on the other side of Treehouse Dam, and it wasn't far from there actually that we had seen, and we were filming those Majingi lions eating one of the Styx females, and they ate her completely. We didn't find the skull or anything after that, although Peter Pretorius found a skull down below Gowrie Dam. I doubt whether it was the same one, because I then found the skeleton and the lower jaw, so I think that was a different lioness that had died. We might lose signal. We're going on to Gowrie Lion. We'll go back to Djuma. Welcome back, everyone. I think the heat's exacerbating our signal issues where we have signal, because the common signal places are just sort of broader. The common signal issue places. Where's my other glass? In my pocket. I'll try my best to stay within signal range now, because we don't want to lose any more time. Okay. Sandy wants to know if we're going to see Jigger again. Jigger's taking a break. At the moment we have a stronger signal from Wendy, and So we're only using Wendy, this vehicle. So you go. We're hoping that we can. We're looking. I mean, we had what was his name? Brent. We had Brent here that came for a tryout, came to have a look, and he was great. I actually got to know more about Brent sitting around the fire that evening having dinner than I did just watching him on drive, because I came back from leave to actually try and get to see him on drive. And I think it's great. I think he's experienced a number of different places, which is very impressive, as I have. In other parts of Africa, he's even been to bits of West Africa, Gabon. Always something good, because it increases the amount of experience, or rather it broadens the mind, rather than somebody who's only ever just been to the Sabi Sand or Kruger Park or something. So I'm hoping that things can work out, that we eventually get to having two presenters again. It would be nice to see Scotty coming back as well, and coming to do things. But at the moment it's just the three of us, and for now oh look, there's that young Wahlbergs, that pale Wahlbergs that we see all the time. Fancy bumping into you just so randomly. What are you eating? I've caught something. Tearing something apart up in that tree. Maybe even just a small bird. I think there are a few feathers up there, so I think it's a small bird. I was hoping to identify maybe one or two of the pieces that I could see. Whatever it is, it's relatively small. And Wahlbergs are notorious bird hunters, but not exclusively. But interestingly, with the way we're looking at this Wahlbergs, and we've seen him so often, and I'm pretty sure it's the male, to be honest, from that nest that's on Twin Dams Road. And often you hear me talking about the snake eagles and the true eagles, and how the snake eagles are bare-legged and the true eagles are feathered down to the feet. This is a perfect opportunity to see how, with the true eagles, how their feet are feathered to the feet. Their legs, rather, feathered to the feet. That was too much of an alliteration. If you zoom in on that photo that you got, maybe we'll get an idea of what it was, because I think you snapped a good one there. Oh my word. That is a yellow-throated plated lizard. I've just seen it. That is an incredibly fast lizard. It's killed a yellow-throated plated lizard. I saw the entire hind end of the body as it lifted it up there. I can see its crop is pretty full at the moment, and you see when you go, yes, I'm going to make a bit more space. Thank you, bird. Luckily we went underneath it, but the crop is actually not quite underneath the throat, it's not quite underneath the beak, it's lower down on the neck, where the neck sort of joins the body is where the crop of the raptors are, and when they eat, the crop fills up with all the stuff that they eat. So sometimes with vultures and eagles, when they fly off from somewhere, you can actually see whether they've just been feeding, because the crop is full. And well, all birds have a crop really. It's a pre-digestive mechanism, for want of a better phrase. There's the tail. Oh, look, almost like a snake's tail. There it is again, just hanging down from the back of the left foot. The lizard is a grassland, sort of mostly grassland termitarium lizard, and it does have a very, very long tail. I'm going to get out my reptile book and I'm going to show you what it looks like. There was a rather strange circumstance a couple of months ago. Jason was on camera with me, and we were talking about plated lizards, and I was saying I don't think that the yellow-throated plated lizard might occur here, because there's the rough-scale plated and the giant plated and the tawny plated, and they're some of the biggest lizards that we get here, apart from the monitor lizards. They're far bigger than the agama lizards, and this lizard is one of our biggest grassland lizards, and intermediate. Ooh. He was actually holding it. I'm very impressed that a Wahlbergs could get something like that, because he must have been sitting in a branch for a long time. He's carrying it again. There's that beautiful long tail of the lizard. Now some of the relatives of these lizards are the seps and some of the grass lizards that actually have bodies of snakes. Their legs have become almost vestigial, because they're able to work their way serpentine-like through the grasses, and that their legs could only be a hindrance. So for some of them, they've actually lost most of their limbs. Or rather, let me rephrase that might come across wrong. That's mostly the tail section that this eagle has got now. Looks like it's probably eaten most of the head. I'm dying to get underneath this tree to see if maybe it dropped the head. It would be the highlight of my week if I could find any part of this lizard to look a little bit closer at it, because I don't ever get to... You dropped it. You dropped it, you silly bird. So I'm going to have to take it to another tree now. Anyways, Jason and I found, he's taken it, but it's got to go into a different tree. I'm going to try and get there, because now he's sitting in the sun with it. If there are no animals moving around, we've got far more exciting things to look at. Sometimes we can get lucky and we can find little gems. I mean, if we could consider that this eagle is almost like the cat of the eagle or the cat of the raptors, the leopard of the feathered, the leopard of the feathered friends, the leopard world, sitting over the beautiful tambuti tree that it's sitting in, by the way. But unfortunately, we're not able to see its talons now. There are yellow-billed hornbills that are complaining about his presence. Oh, did you drop it again? Wings caught in a branch. That's how you damage your feathers, child. I wonder if he dropped it again. Now, if I see something like this at home, I will wait until the whole thing is over, and then I will scour the bottom of these trees for any scrap of whatever it was, so that I could learn something, so that I can have something. This is a lizard species that at best you get a 1 second or a 2 second glimpse of it. It's one of the reasons why we've never been able to catch them on camera. Occasionally, if I'm lucky, in Salati when I'm there, because it's so rocky, I'm lucky enough to get maybe rough scale plated or giant plated or tawny plated lizards and flat lizards basking in the sun before they scamper off for a couple of seconds. But there are so many species of lizards that I would love to show you, I would love to find, but it's not in my nature, and it's not in our nature as Wild Earth to go chasing after them and lifting rocks and catching them and hauling them out to present to a camera. That's not what we do, because it is having such an impact, and it is changing our position of just being this roving camera that can come through their territory and hope to witness them. And most of the time, when it comes to reptiles and lizards and things, we just don't really get the chance. And whether it is a camera on the vehicle or not is irrelevant, but the other part of that is that when I'm at home it's the same thing, and very often I very seldom get to see, unless there's a bird eating something, or unless, sad to say, roadkill. Fortunately, that's not a species that I see much. I think it did. I think that time when it got its wing caught, I think it did drop that tail again, because it's trying to find it now. I'm going to get my reptile book out so I can show you what it is that this eagle's been eating. Before we go away and leave him be. I still think that maybe the skull might be here. Oh, good, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, hardly covers it. Plated lizards. Here we go, plated lizards. So this is the yellow-throated plated lizard, and I have no doubt, because I saw some of these yellow stripes before while it was eating, and there were even bits of hind leg, and I think what we've managed to, when we got here, it had finished most of the front part and it was on the hind legs and things tearing, and what it dropped was from about there down the tail, quite a long tail. What I was telling you about, here on the left, here's a seps. You can see that there it has one of the seps, one of the sort of grass lizards that have lost their limbs through not needing them much, so they have vestigial limbs. These are other seps. I don't think this was a seps. I'm still convinced because I saw a little bit of yellow, but here it almost looks like a grass snake, but it is actually a lizard, and it's one of the grass lizards. There are some of the grass lizards or the seps that have still have limbs, because they have obviously occupied habitats and things where they still require, like on rocky outcrops and things where they require limbs, and so they still have quite functioning limbs. But there are also other seps, the long-tailed seps, which is now also perhaps moving into more of a grassland habitat. The hind legs are almost vestigial. There's not much left there because the tail is probably more than 2/3 the length of the body, and the front legs are probably just there to help it guide it through the grassland. Really weird and wonderful things that happen with lizards and skinks, and how their bodies adapt to their niche that they find within the environment. And I suppose if you don't use it, you lose it kind of mentality. We're going to leave this eagle be. I'm just going to come, I hope I don't disturb him. I'm going to come a little closer. He was up there. I'd love to know if he dropped the skull, but he might have eaten the skull. But yeah, like a needle in a haystack. Bye bye, eagle. I guess there was a reason why I came down here, isn't there? Hey Clancy, don't you think so? I think Clancy would agree. The eagle brought me down here, the feathers and all. Hello, Diane, in Michigan. Wanting to know if I saw a bald eagle when I was in the US. Briefly, one. And that was weekends spent at Lake San Antonio, which is, I guess, Southern California, close to Lake Nacimiento. But most of our time was water skiing and playing on Lake San Antonio. I used to go from Watsonville Capitola and Aptos. I was actually staying in Aptos, but we surfed in Capitola and we did stuff all the way around Monterey Bay and the south of that was Salinas and then Watsonville, and then Salinas and then the lake. We used to go to the lake weekends. Y'all are bull. And one day water skiing, there was one weekend water skiing on on San Antonio, Lake San Antonio, that there were bald eagles flying around, but we never got to see them perched, or I didn't, and I only got to see them flying, and it was almost like, oh, that's just like a fish eagle flying, bigger head, but it's like a fish eagle. Hey, no, don't run away, wait, whoa, stop, Mr. Nyala. Hello, we're fine. So, first animal, what's the time? And who wins the prize? Well, no, the eagle doesn't count, I suppose. We were talking about mammals. Part 34. This is a Nyala bull in his prime. We've seen a lot of kudu recently. We haven't really seen Nyala for a little while. This is one of their smaller cousins, the Nyala. Still got a spiral horn, so they're still considered a spiral-horned antelope. The flies are bugging him as much as they're bugging us today, and it's a good indication that something is happening. Okay, sounds like John in Connecticut was the closest. 5:20. Okay. Well done, John. You win. Then I've got to be careful about this because I still owe Arlene a dinner. And she keeps reminding me that I owe her a dinner because Arlene won a dinner once. And I will pay that debt, Arlene. I'll even do dinner for the parrots. But anyway, John, well done. Now, having done that, having said that, I think Sharon is also close. That reminds me, Sharon in Austria was asking a question earlier, and I meant to keep it in my head. There were a couple of questions that I was hoping to get back to. Yeah, that too. Sharon? Hi, Sharon in Austria. Maybe we spoke about that. That was the cheetah clause issue. There was another question I think I missed. See, days like these. Oh, who sang that song? Somebody asked me this morning that I mention songs. And I mention songs because sometimes there's the sequence of words that come to my head, like now. I was going to say, there are days like these that are just fucking, and I just wish I could find something for you, and I would stop, even if I could look for insects. But then it suddenly triggered, and this is what it does to my mind, is that it's unfortunate that that's the way my brain works, that changes gear so often. I get asked about birds alarming and whether everything understands them. Like, how can you not understand that constant? And quite often birds actually will physically show me what it is that they're upset about, but out here they don't. It's only really where I live, because they get used to me. I've had birds show me where snakes are. And I did it again. But I was saying that sometimes I just say words and then it sort of brings to mind a song. And I didn't know, I was just thinking. And it brought to mind a Van Morrison song. I don't think I could sing you a song. I don't even think I could sing a whole chorus of one song. But the strangest thing is that sometimes there are words, or there are phrases, or there are words in a song that just suddenly ring true. Or I say something and it's maybe my subconscious expressing it in the words I've heard in a song. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. Really bright today. We started off with a very bright morning. I should have known that also, with such a clear sky. There's nothing that's going to be masking the sun today, so even as late as it is in the day today, that is still very, very harsh, very, very bright. Hello, Hillary. Well, this little mantis just hit my head and bounced onto the dashboard. Little grass mantis. Very special little child. Hillary wants to know what I mean when I mentioned there are a lot of flies today. This morning I felt pressure changes and the frogs changed colour, although the frogs changed colour that kind of the opposite to what I want to get to, because tree frogs tend to go white when they're heading for a really dry spell for some time, and one can often rely on frogs. But there are other signs, there are things that indicate some sort of weather change, and a lot of flies are sort of one of those things. It's almost as though their pupation is linked to a change in atmospheric pressure or a change in climate and stuff. Very pretty little mantis this, by the way. Mostly a grass mantis. It lives on the grasses rather than on trees and branches. You can see the color that it is, but also how tight it holds its hunting legs close to its body. If I can just get a blade of grass. I won't dare put my hand next to it because it will frighten it away, but if I could just get a blade of grass that I could maybe try and encourage it just to turn a little bit more towards the camera. Just a little bit. Thank you, Charles. Oh, no, there we go. Oh, and then I moved. Right, that's what one of the things I wanted. So once it returns to its okay, I'll try and slow that down a little bit. So what happened was it climbed. I don't know if you noticed. Did you notice how when it got onto the grass stalk, it like closed up and it was almost nothing, but like almost like these bits of grass that are coming off of it, and then it flew away. And well, it's landed on a piece of grass, so I'm never going to find it now because it's more camouflaged than a chameleon. But moments like that are better than having a dried insect on the dash. But it's nice to have had that little mantis. Not the kind of mantis you're going to find on leaves or flowers or things. It is very specifically a grass mantis, and I think it just shows you exactly why it is. And there are a host of spiders and flies and ticks and just a host of creatures that also only live on grass stalks. They don't live on leaves, they don't live on branches, they only live on grass stalks. And that's what this little mantis hunts. But it is so well camouflaged. And the most remarkable thing is that, I don't know if you interview divers, if you do any scuba diving, and if you do ever do any night dives, but they're these corals, they're like whip corals, they're like these long whip-shaped things, they like giant spaghettis that stick up from the ocean floor, sometimes 6-8 feet long, maybe a bit less usually. And they have a species of shrimp that live on them that are just so much like these little mantis. And they hunt almost in exactly the same way, and it's just so remarkable that something under the ocean can develop a manner of habit or a lifestyle almost identical to a land counterpart that's not even the same family of creatures. That's a crustacean versus an insect. Very just kind of stuff like that really amazes me. Doesn't necessarily have to be a big giant elephant. That would be nice. And a nice butterfly if we can catch it. Inside that spiked thorn. Not that one, that's the female. Male is there. I thought it was a crimson, but it's not, it's an orange. There it goes. Brian's going to curse me later. We're going to be sitting around dinner and he's going to say, what on earth are you trying to do to me? Make me follow butterflies. Alright, we can't follow the butterfly. But it's a calotus, it's an orange, one of the orange-tipped calotuses. But now, I'm making do. I was asked earlier to have some insects. Here's an even more special insect. On the dashboard. Excuse me, wait, sorry, come back please. I'm actually going to have to put this on my finger and show you a closer view if it will let me. Excuse, doesn't want to know. Have to get a stick. Okay, here's a stick. Will you sit on a stick? Please. Please. I don't know how close you can get. Maybe. Maybe it flew away. I think that was a fulgurate bug. That was actually a bug. Now I'm going to have to find a picture because I was trying to show you how intricate the wings were. Fulgurate. Not that book. That's the butterfly book. It's going to help me. One of the most intricate wing patterns you'll ever see. They are somewhat related to cicadas because they are bugs. They are true bugs. Okay, we're going away from where I want to go. No. No. Tree hoppers and sapsuckers, aquatics. Thing is that everything is called a bug in most parts of the world, but there is actually only one true part of the insect world that are known as bugs. This is a very similar, that one, but it's not the same. That's very similar. It's not called Uno Momento. There we go. But here's a picture of a very similar one of these. Associated with the twig wilter bugs. This one, it had this broad shield on the thorax, but the wings were more complete than that particular species. I'll have to find it, the exact species of which one it was. But anyways, quite an incredible bug, and it waves like that, pretends to be waving in the wind. So well camouflaged and so well cryptically made up to be able to go about undetected most of the time. Can't find elephants, we can find bugs and mantids and deceased lizards being eaten by eagles. Christy wants to know how long we're going for, in terms of how long the drives are going on for. I don't know, Christy. I'll be here tomorrow. I really don't know yet. I must chat to Graham. Graham has been in the US, he's been busy with things, so we're hoping that he's going to get down here soon and we'll maybe sort it out, but at this stage we're here. We are here. for now. Problem is, if I can't produce, I've got to be at my best. I've got to sort of be. But it's hard because there's these hot days, no animals moving, and we don't have the other vehicle going out looking for animals for us, so we've got to do it all with one vehicle, just the three of us. And we're hoping that we can still keep it exciting. It's got a lot to do with the interaction that we have with you and whether we can hold the audience, I suppose. I guess there might be a lot of new viewers who don't quite understand these long-winded bouts of not really seeing anything, and how different it is to an edited, post-produced program that has been filming months and months on end to produce a half-hour or an hour program, and you can just keep the action flowing. This is live. This is now. This is what happened on a really, really hot day in Africa. Nothing crawls out of the woodwork. There's very little to be seen. It's almost one of the things that's predictable. Really, really hot day until 6 o'clock at night. There's not much is going to happen. But, make no mistake, you can come around the corner and find a leopard with an impala in his jaws, because nothing is so certain. Nothing is just so cut and dry that just because it is really so hot and there's nothing moving around that you're not going to see anything. Who knows what we're going to find when we come out of this drainage line, we come around the corner. I'm hoping we're going to find something. I'm looking for tracks, but on a hot day like today, but I guess it's been kind of hot since almost 9 o'clock. There are no tracks that are really that close to the last hour or two that get my blood running, that I can think, oh, here's something I could follow because maybe we've got a chance of finding this animal. I can find all sorts of animal tracks, but they will be so old, they'll be hours old, that those animals could be anywhere. And the best bet is to just drive around and try to find different areas. We're now running up towards Djuma waterhole or Gowrie Dam. We're on the edge of the drainage line, which heads that way, and I'm hoping that maybe because it's cooler down here, that there's a ridge to the west of us that makes this all in shade now that it's cooler down here. Although the top of the ridge might still be bright sunshine and still another 10 degrees warmer, but down here it's a little bit cooler, and down here maybe we're lucky to find something. We've already been lucky. We found, how often have we had an eagle eating a lizard? The way we just had it. So that was a really special moment to be able to sit there and watch that. And maybe even more importantly, we were able to actually identify what it is that was going on. And for a bird that mostly kills other birds, for an eagle that mostly hunts birds and things, and I know they hunt lizards and they do eat snakes and things, but they tend to prefer things in a little bit higher than the ground. It was a bird that I guess got a bit lucky and found itself a really amazing lizard, sadly. Hi, Marion. Marion's in Texas. Do I think I'll ever go back to Thorny Bush? I don't know. I won't go back to Thorny Bush as a guide. Only chance maybe of me going back to Thorny Bush is if we get to go and drive around there and film there again. And I don't know anything about that happening. So I can't be sure, Marion. You know, I can't say no, I can't say yes. It's not something that I can predict. I am in a position where when I'm with Wild Earth, the Wahlbergs are on the next, both of them. One on the nest and one next to. So now maybe we can really establish whether that youngster is from this nest or not. That quite pale one. Yeah, there he is. Or maybe that's the youngster. I think that is the one that's on the nest, is the one we've been watching, and that might be the youngster up there. And maybe this one beat us back to the nest after eating the lizard. Maybe brought it back for this. We haven't noticed a youngster. We drive past here at least a couple of times a day, and I've never noticed anything other than an adult hanging around this nest. So maybe she's the female, and maybe, I don't know, that one up there is also got a little bit of a pale head, but I think that might be the juvenile. Hard to really tell from here because we're looking in, the light is wrong. No, that's not a juvenile. I think that must be Dad. It's also not the time for Wahlbergs to have any youngsters. Maybe they're just sort of tidying up the house before they leave and head off because they're going to migrate. They're going to go away for a few months. Come back in 6 months' time, around September, I suppose. I think I'll still be around for a week or two, but they're soon going to be heading off north. And then I'll come back to the same nest around September or so. First week of September. Oh, getting a good look there from the eagle. Eagle eyes. We're on Quindan Road, almost where the line were for the last couple of days, so we're on Quindan Road again. We're almost going back to Yari Dam right now. So I'm asking where we are. That's the Wahlberg nest on Wahlberg's nest road where starlings. There's a few buffalo weavers. What are you performing about, starling? It doesn't help to just shout. You need to sort of point it out. And the buffalo weavers don't seem to be too bothered. Maybe it's just the buffalo weavers that are disturbing the starling. Even though when you take a crow wolf, or it's clearly an alarm call. You get there, it's like a harsh call. Cold Cleveland. Two parts of a question. Two questions. And I was kind of so concentrating on the second question, I've forgotten the first. Do we have praying mantis? We have hundreds of different species, many of praying mantis. We've just had a praying mantis on the dashboard just a few minutes ago. Perhaps you might have missed it. We don't get to see them that often, other than at home. We accumulate around the lights and things. And maybe I should find one or two that I could show you after they die or something. But see, the whole thing about Wild Earth is we don't want to go out there and catch things and bring. Sometimes we can handle stuff that, if I know that I can handle it without impacting too much on its lives. If it just happens to be in the vehicle and it needs to go out of the vehicle and I've got to handle it to do so and show it to you in the process, those are different circumstances. But sometimes it's just really difficult to manhandle, because there's no better word than that, creatures, just to put them on camera. But yes, we do have mantises. We just had a really nice special grass pipe mantis on the dashboard. Hello Gucks. Gypsum geese and their goslings. Sorry to disturb you, children. Just thought we'd come to the dam. I'm really at a loss. The temperature is still very, very hot. And I wish I could find an elephant or something, but I can't find anything this afternoon. Not in the drainage lines, not at the dams. Hello. That's the lodge. Hello. Maybe we still go around. Oh, I don't know. Well, Impala running, but it's just a ram chasing a ewe. A bit early to do so. There they go. Oh, I don't know. Something's happening here. Let's stop and have a look. Some animal activity. A little bit of running around. What are you running around for, children? It's heat. I think it's just Impala matters. I don't think there's any predator issue, but we'll soon find out. What's up, girls? I just think it's the ram. Yeah, it's just the ram. It's the ram being what can I say? He's being a ram. Some nyala too. Actually, that's very nice. We've got some nyala coming out. It's that time of day, folks. They're starting to cool down. The shadows are getting longer, and everything that's been hiding in the thickets, they're all starting to come out of the woodwork now. And we just happen to be in a really nice place for it because there's some impala that are coming out, and some nyala, female nyala and their babies. No, don't, girl. Just. What's up, children? Something coming? So, impala are encouraging the nyala and everybody's running away. It's okay, I'll stay here and defend you all. The nyala don't know why everybody's running, but they must have seen something. All heading up to the open area near the dam. This is well, I came this way hoping that with it cooling down things might crawl out of the woodwork. Brian, just remind me what Sarah was asking, because that was an input. That was that can start off a whole discussion. Sarah in California was asking about the eagles and would they return to the same nest, and how will they know, and how do they know it's the same, or how do they get to the same nest? Still more impala deeper in there, but there was something that troubled them from here. Sarah, they do. They return to the same nest. No eagle will use another eagle's nest. An eagle will either build its own nest or it'll return to the same nest. Well, no, there's no either or. If it's a new eagle, if it's newly mature, it'll find a place to build its own nest, and is likely to use that nest for 20 or 30 or 40 years, however long it lives. How do they know where their nest is? That, my dear, is a miracle of nature. But then when you consider that when a wasp is building a nest, a wasp will start a nest and it will fly away several hundred meters to go and collect either mud or clay or other plant material or prey or water, or a wasp will be able to fly far away from where its nest is being prepared and to be able to come back to that same nest to continue the preparations for that nest. The frogs move. It's gone deeper in and it's gone dark. But that's because the temperature has dropped. It doesn't want to be white at night. I'll try and get a bit closer. See, there's more birds that are alarming. I don't know what it is. But anyways, let's try and get the camera a little bit closer in to our little tree frog so that you can see. There's a gap maybe. No. Yeah, it's very hard to see it from. Alright, it's about the same color as we saw it the first time, but it's quite close to the back of the tree. Sorry. difficult to get to, and I don't want to disturb it. I don't want to bump the tree on it. For a wasp to be able to come back to its nesting site, it flies above its nesting site and it takes landmarks. And it might be a little stone here and a little piece of gravel there, or a little stick. I'll be able to fly away, and that mapping that it did is like a set GPS point in its brain. Kind of the same with the Wahlberg. In fact, now that we're going up to the west, we're going to turn around up here. There's some really beautiful sunlight on them, and maybe we can have a look from a little distance from here. The sun behind us. This is not for them flying probably a couple of thousand kilometers. I'm not even sure, to be honest. I'm not even sure where these Wahlbergs go to. Somewhere up into north of the equator. We can't really see much from the nest on the side. You can just sort of see a little bit of the silhouette of the one eagle, and then the sort of dark patch just off to its right, which is the nest. This is late afternoon from the western side. But they will take landmarks of towns and cities and all sorts of physical landmarks. They will also have compass points that will help them. The magnetic field of the planet helps guide them. It's almost as though they've got like this inbuilt GPS that has this beacon that drives them back to the exact same point, so that while they're here, it's like they mark that as home on their internal brain GPS, and it doesn't matter where they are on the planet, it'll bring them here at the right time of the year. So it's the most remarkable thing how it is that nature does this for animals. When you think about it, turtles who hatch on beaches that enter the ocean and are able to survive all the trials and tribulations of growing up being a turtle, and they swim thousands and thousands of miles through their lifetime all around the Pacific or the Atlantic, whatever ocean it is, the Indian Ocean, whatever ocean it is, they swim for years and years and years, and then one day they emerge on the very beach that they hatched on to lay their eggs. You look at the salmon, how salmon, especially at salmon, I remember when I was in northern or central California in the 1990s, how people were trying to restore the rivers to bring the salmon back to some of those rivers in northern California, and how salmon could find their way upstream, or no, before they even get upstream, how they can find their way through an ocean. See, I mean, here's fresh elephant tracks going through here. They're elephant around, but they're obviously not moving much. They're so hot, they're probably just standing. But that was young elephant. There's some more elephant tracks. And some more. So there are probably hundreds of examples that I could give of how animals actually find their way back to the exact same place. There are, in the mountains west of us, in the Drakensberg Mountains, there are some really rather remarkable pools where the rocks have drilled these circular holes in the rock, and then there are eels that live in those pools, whose pelvis grow up in the ocean, and eventually when they mature they find their way back to the right river to swim up the right river, to find their way to the right spot to breed in the very same waters that they grew up in. How it is that butterflies, North American monarchs, how it is that butterflies are able to return to the same place. So I guess in a sense it's no remarkable feat that an eagle can just return to a nest and have so many landmarks to be able to bring it back, let alone all those other navigational aids that include infrasound and magnetic fields and built-in compasses and a brain that is a GPS, which we should have, but we lost it. We lost the ability to. We get lost. Hi Paddy, we're going back down to the dam because I'm just following up on some elephant tracks. Patty in New Jersey, who's a long time viewer, and Paddy and I have been friends for a long time too, and I'm so glad you're watching, Paddy. Welcome back with us, and glad you could join our drive today. Been a long time coming. Might look like I'm going around in circles, but hoping that this will prove fruitful. Stop squeaking. I guess we kind of lost with our Djuma Dam camera here, the Djuma Waterhole cam or the Gari Dam camera, because the elephant tracks that are telling me that there's a bunch of it, there are a few elephants in here, and I'm not seeing the tracks coming out. I'm hoping that they might still be in there. But I can't be sure because here where it's grassy I won't be able to see their tracks very well. But Paddy, yes, waiting for sunset. In fact, we should be up on quarantine for sunset. I just want to come into this little area for a little bit and just see if I can hear anything in the way of elephant. But there's a very special sunset tonight because we're going to have the crescent moon of a new moon, waxing crescent, and with that we're going to have Venus, and quite close to Venus we're going to have Mars, close proximity. I don't want to get too caught up in this thicket, but my guess is there's a family of elephant in this thicket somewhere, and they've been resting up through most of the heat of today. many languages do I speak? If you look at all this monkey orange. Teresa, no monkey oranges on the monkey orange at the moment that I can see. They don't always flower and they don't always fruit. Could be years before they do. But we did see some fruit growing the other day. I think that's on Spam Road. We'll have to go back to that forest. I don't want to get too deep into this thick stuff because it's just can't get too deep into the thick monkey orange forest. I was convinced, I'm still convinced that there are alleys in there. Their tracks go into the block, they don't come out. Let's go through here, we'll just go up into Quarantine to Sunset. It's an old road here anyway. Of course this just means that the elephant withdrawal gets deeper and deeper into elephant withdrawal because I didn't find any today. But it's starting to cool down. Oh, sorry though. Saying such a loss not having the camera at the dam because sometimes we would get to know whether there's animals at the dam. Hello boys. Sorry to disturb. We're just going up for sunset. Sunset for Paddy. It's a Patty squared. Both Paddy. Paddy Jarvis and Paddy Mulligan. Sunset for you. We'll just wait for it gets a bit dark before we can see the moon and the planets. Greatest, I'm afraid. Because from here we still got the ridge of Zoe's Road that blocks off our sunset a little bit from here on Quarantine. Oh. Days like today I end up chasing my tail. Brian's telling me a few people have asked that whether there is going to be a fireside chat tomorrow. I think tomorrow would be Sunday. Is today Saturday? I think so. My electronic device tells me that it's Saturday. So it would be tomorrow. No, we're not going to have a fireside chat, unfortunately, with only Brian and Andrew and myself, just the three of us here. Unfortunately, it's not possible to prepare a fireside chat. We were hoping that our crew will grow a little bit, but we've got a long way to go for that to happen. And we're not sure yet what's going to be happening here in Djuma, but for now, unfortunately, no fireside chat. I mean, for now, especially a day like today, this is our fireside chat. We're chatting all drive, all afternoon with smell the fire from the lodge. So with our drives, we've got hours of chatting to do. I know that it is a little bit different having the fire, but or rather logistically, it's almost impossible to prepare with all three of us working until 7 o'clock with the drive. And so for the time being, no, unfortunately, no fireside chat, just our drive. It is a long fireside chat without the fire. Fire's in the engine. So we're going to make our way from here all the way down towards the hyena. I think we'll go to sort of see what the hyena den's got to offer, perhaps, if they're not going to be too hot and listless and not be very active. But we haven't been there for a while. Let's take a ride. The cosmic train. That was Cat Stevens, by the way. Thanks, Brian. Conveying a message that a lot of people are just happy to be out here on the drive. No pressure for animals. I know there's no pressure, but that's still, you got to understand it from my point of view. I want to show you stuff, and I'm lucky that we get to do this every day. I mean, it would be, I can't imagine the kind of pressure that a lot of the guides are under right now, because they are guests that are staying only a couple of days, and maybe they've got people that are only there for 2 or maybe 3 nights, and a day like today where you're paying a lot of money to stay in a lodge and you're not going to get to see very much at all. It's one of those things. I've often been asked actually how climate and weather affects animal behavior, and often I'm kind of a bit of a loss for words, but it's because I don't remember these moments when when temperature and atmospheric pressure changes make such a big difference to game viewing. And the fortunate thing is that we get to do this again tomorrow. and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Sorry, radio going in my ear. So it isn't that much of a disappointment this evening that we haven't seen much, because tomorrow for us is another day. You can join us again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. And the beauty of it is that every day is different. Every day we never know what the weather's going to bring and what the bush is going to bring and what coming around the next corner is going to bring. So it's why we do it, and it's in the process of it's in the interim that is most important. It's not so much getting to see that animal, it's what we do until we get to see that animal. It was a little dusky flycatcher. Actually looked like a grey, African grey flycatcher. Flew away as I wanted to stop. Any word on shadow and a cub? Question from Sandy in Florida. Sandy, unfortunately not. I haven't bumped into any of the Aracusa guys. I haven't heard any word of late. Can't get to the hyena too late because I can't use light with that little one, or that very little one. And the reason why these roads are so quiet and the radio is so quiet is because not much is happening elsewhere. Oops, sorry, Andrew. Fall off a route like that. Good jolting. Sounds like up on Buffelshoek, Jacana Camp. Sounds like the wild dog on that side. A little bit encouraging because it means that maybe if we go up to the northwest tomorrow, there might be signs of the dogs coming back along this way, but I'd have to find out which way they went first. Oh, interesting. Lorraine. Hi, Lorraine, in Australia. It must be like midnight for you, Lorraine. but then I suppose sometimes other people watch at midnight. But thanks for watching so late, Lorraine. Lions killed and ate that female, or partially, the other day, and we have had other incidents of lion killing and eating other lions. Lorraine wants to know if leopards do the same. Yeah, to some extent they do, and I've known leopards to eat their own young that have died. But it's not always, see, Lorraine, sometimes lion will kill lion and leave them and they won't eat them, and sometimes lion will kill leopard and not eat them, and sometimes lion will kill leopard and eat them. So unfortunately it's not really something that I can answer with such certainty to say yes or no, or because different circumstances end up with different results, and then you still got different individuals to regard, where different leopards in different circumstances behave different ways. I personally have not experienced leopard eating leopard. I believe that they have done so, and I don't believe that there's any set of circumstance that would lead a particular leopard to eat another leopard after it had killed it in a fight. I think it's such a random thing that might happen once and not, I don't know. I think the way it works is that I guess there's a 50-50 chance that if there was a fight and a leopard killed another, maybe not even 50-50, maybe there's more variables involved, but there's certainly there's elephants were here breaking trees. Not today. It's so hard for me to answer these kind of questions, and I can only answer them in the best way that I can, and try and explain that there is such a wide variety of possibilities of an outcome. And yes, it can happen, and no, it won't happen, and maybe, and all of these things. But that is because one of my tenets in life, one of my philosophies is I only know what I know. A lot of it has been gleaned from books, but most of what I have in my head and my heart is what I've lived and what I've experienced. And so I don't ever want to be the one that says something and it is taken as gospel, it is taken as the status quo for an entire species. So I don't want to say that yes, leopard will eat other leopard, and that then becomes the truth for everybody, who then will go on to believe that a leopard will kill another leopard and eat it. And then when it doesn't happen, then someone will say, well, but Mark said that such and such will happen. So for me to be able to make such a definitive answer, to say something, very difficult for me to answer things in that manner, because I would rather give an idea that there are many different possibilities. So there isn't a right answer or a wrong answer. Oops, I forgot where we were going. Not the Treehouse Dam. We're going here to see these children, because they're probably maybe the only children who are going to say hello to us right now. One of the reasons why I answer questions I start the answer with "it depends" so much, because there are so many different answers to some of what may be most basic of questions, and invariably this is Impala cruising through the hyena den. What may seem as a rather simple and straightforward question, or rather a question that might have a rather simple and straightforward answer, isn't necessarily the case, because wherever behavior is involved, we have to remember all the time that we're dealing with individual animals. They might all be the same species, but they are individuals. They are animals that have an ability to think for themselves, to react for themselves, to behave for themselves. There's a hyena. Looking at these impala that are just running through the den the way they are. A couple of rams, a little bachelor group of impala that are feeding nearby. And probably because the hyena have been so hot all day, they haven't really bothered who's around. Hello, Crocata. We'll come round and see you on that side. Oh, little one? No, little one's not there. I think we mainly want to see little one. And from this angle we'll have the moon setting with Venus and Mars. Nobody there. Maybe it's still too hot for little one to come out and play. She even looks pregnant, this one. There we go, little one's just poking his head out.
Has it been rolling in the mud?
Don't know. Oh, this one, yeah, she's been sitting in water all day. Probably Treehouse Dam or something, or maybe even just the water down here at Philemon's Dip. You see that water line. A little bit of mud, yeah. Been cooling off. A lot of hyena do that too. A lot of hyena do that on hot days. I saw that little head popping out of the hole, but hasn't yet decided to emerge. Come on. Come on out, child. I'm not going to be able to use lights because this child is far too young to have lights on it. This is our local hyena den. Well, it is now. Tara found it. We had been looking for the den for a few weeks after they left their previous den, and it would seem that in the interim one of the females within the clan must have given birth to this youngster, and I suppose that's why we didn't see them, because this one was so small. Hoping that it's going to come out of the den. My ears open and as can be. There we go, a little head popping out again. What, there two little ones? When were there two little ones? And both of them are suckling. These are new pups. These are not the little pup that's come out to the vehicle before. These are two new pups. Only a couple of weeks old. I think this might be the first time they're coming out. I don't know, did you ever see two before?
Yeah, we've seen two before.
Oh, okay. So it's one of them that came up to us earlier.
Yeah.
2 days ago.
There was one pup and then that one got taken. Now there's two. I think that was at a different den though. There is one.
Oh, that must be the cheetah cutline one. I don't know, these look smaller than the one that came up to my vehicle the other day. These are tiny. I don't think I've ever seen such a tiny hyena pup. You know, I'm going to try go forward just so we can see them suckling, because she's standing. Oh, there they see, these ones haven't been out yet. I don't think. I wish I could. No, this is definitely a new two. These two are they're out for the first or they. Evidently, some of the viewers also saying that these look like two new ones. Unfortunately, it's a little bit dark to see that female and get a good idea of who she is, because that'll clear things up a lot, because I've no doubt that we've seen the mother of the other cubs. But classic standing and suckling. I'm sorry it's not lighter than this. I feel very chasing them back into the hole. I feel very strongly about little ones that are so tiny they should not be exposed to light at all. Those are new pups, cubs, babies. Which means, guess where we're coming first thing in the morning? We need to come and get some ID on this mama and get maybe sort of mark down the tears in her ears or any scars that we can see that maybe mark her as a very particular mummock. I'm going to try and go back a little bit now. Just no, you see, it's just trying to move. Look at this dominance. There's the one that is suckling is actually chasing this other one away, and this is where siblicide comes in, where the stronger one is liable to kill the weaker pup. Young hyena, baby hyena. Pup seems to roll off the tongue, but technically it's probably cub is better. I don't know, what do you think, folks? Is it hyena cub or hyena pup? It's getting really, really dark now. I don't know what everyone's able to see, but that is a new addition to the den. Okay, we're gonna leave. It's getting a little bit dark. Head back. Look at that. They're actually now comfortable with the vehicle starting because they're suckling. Getting a bit dark. Let's move on. I hope no one's gonna come here with their lights on. But we want to just get out from under these trees because we have to have a look at the moon. It's a very special day to look at the moon before we say goodbye, because of its proximity to Jupiter, although tomorrow might be a little bit better, just looking at it. Not Jupiter, sorry, Venus. Only really seeing Venus and the moon at the moment, but let's wait until we get a little bit further on. Tomorrow, I think the moon will be too far away from Venus. Yesterday Venus was a little bit higher than the moon. Now the moon's a bit higher than Venus. And then of course every day the moon at this time of the day gets a little bit higher and higher until it becomes directly overhead when we're at sunset. Excuse me, nightjar. Out of this dip and have a look at the moon. Jupiter to the west, or rather to the east. Jupiter's rising. the moon and Venus are quite bright. Thank you for joining me this lovely hot summer's afternoon. It's been wonderful, from a day where this morning I started off with about 4 layers on me to end off with about 40 something degrees, and well, it's actually 40 plus degrees. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, everybody. There's our wonderful moon, and hope to see you tomorrow. My name is Mark. Andrew's been on camera. Brian has been in final control. It's been great. It's been hot and it's been lovely, but we've seen some wonderful things. That eagle, I think, was pretty special. Thanks, everybody. Love you lots, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.